So I came across this article in the New York Times, and the article is titled, "How to Stay Motivated When the Last Thing You Want to Do is Exercise." And I thought, yeah, that fits with what we talk about. I know there are times when the last thing you feel like doing is getting out there, going for your run, going to the gym, lifting those weights. And these are just going to be a couple of tips to help you along your way. And of course, I will link to the article in the show notes below, so if you want to go on the New York Times and just check out the article, the link's down there. Let's get into it. So in the article, David Roche, you all know David Roche, he says he struggles with finding motivation all the time, and I can relate to that. I am sure you can relate to that. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I always say motivation is highly overrated. We don't need motivation to do anything, at least not in the beginning. Discipline comes first, motivation comes second. But with that said, David Roche says he likes to find joy in the activity itself. So you can't just think of it as a run that you have to do. It's going to help if you can actually find happiness in going for that run and what's going to happen on the run. Does that make sense? So the first thing to stoke this motivation that is always going to be lacking, is to not think of whatever activity you're doing, running, biking, weight training, don't think of it as exercise. The word exercise just is what we're doing. But if we say to someone, even if we say to ourselves that we have to exercise, it makes it kind of like a requirement. And nobody wants to do anything if it's required. We want to have the choice. We want to find joy. So by not thinking of your activity as exercise, you are automatically going to enjoy it that much more because you're focusing on what parts of that exercise make you happy. This is definitely going to be tough for new runners because you're probably thinking, I don't enjoy running. I'm doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to be healthier. Because there are ways to find happiness in going for that run, in lifting those weights. And the first way is to run with someone that you know. Make it a social activity. Now, of course, we're still living in the times of COVID. Maybe running with someone all the time isn't really a doable option. But you can look at your run as a time to clear your head, as a time to get outside and get fresh air. Now, while some of you may be rolling your eyes at this, I go outside and get fresh air. My friends, it works. You're not going out for exercise. You're going out just to clear your mind, look around at nature. And even if you just start off slow by walking, your body's going to warm up. You've used discipline to get out the door, and all of a sudden you're going to find that motivation kicks in a little more, and before you know it, you're going to be having a good time on your run. It works. Okay, this next tip is one of my favorites because it actually uses a scientific study in order to give guidance, and I'm a fan of that. So the next tip is to bundle your incentives, and this article discusses a mega study in which they looked at 54 different approaches to motivating people, and the experiment had 60,000 participants. So it's not a small study. Okay, but just to boil it down, the study found that offering a free audiobook was one of the best ways to motivate people to work out. And as soon as I read this, I found that it kind of circles back to doing something that you enjoy. Don't think of it as exercise, because if you use that time to listen to an audiobook, listen to a podcast, maybe listen to music, all of a sudden that is the reason that you're going outside for. You're no longer just going out to exercise. You're going out because you are bettering yourself by listening to a book, listening to a podcast. Even if you're just listening to music, your stress level's going to come down and you're going to feel good for the rest of the day. So the idea behind giving the participants an audiobook because they exercise was based on the principle of giving them something to look forward to after the fact. Now, of course, the cynic in me is saying, well, can't you look forward to just being healthy? Well, no, clearly that is not enough. And while you probably don't have someone that wants to buy you an audiobook just because you go for a run, there are ways to treat yourself. So perhaps you could treat yourself to an audiobook if you log a week's worth of runs. And while I get that buying yourself something isn't really special, maybe you can engage your partner and say to them, hey, I need some motivation. I need some encouragement to get going. If I log all my runs this week, will you buy me an audiobook? And if they say yes, then boom, there's your encouragement, there's your motivation, you're off to the races. If they say no, well, probably have to think of something else. Now the article is titled, how to be motivated when you just don't feel like exercising. And this next one is to make exercise a priority. And I kind of think that that does nothing for motivation, right? Even if we make running a priority, if we tell ourselves, right, I have to go out first thing in the morning because it's the only time I have to do it all day, doesn't mean that I'm actually going to be motivated to do it. But still, we've already established that motivation comes secondary. Making running a priority builds discipline, lets you exercise that discipline muscle. So the reason most people give for not exercising, for not going for their run, is time. It's hard to squeeze it in amongst all life's other stuff. Well, by prioritizing your run, you're making it a non-negotiable, right? I'm sure you prioritize brushing your teeth. Probably highly unlikely that you're going to say, nah, I don't have time to brush my teeth today. That's because you know it's important and you've prioritized it. I need you to do the same thing with your run. When it comes down to it, running and brushing your teeth, they give us the same end result, better health. Another reason for making exercise a priority is because if you give yourself an excuse to skip your run, you're more likely going to do it. By making a priority, you're kind of removing that barrier of giving yourself the option of not doing it. And if you don't have the option of not doing it, then simply you'll do it. I get that I'm really dumbing this down. And the article quotes Brad Stulberg, and he says that whether you are a parent, a business person, a physician, a writer, an artist, a lawyer, an educator, exercise will make you better at what you do, and it will help you focus, stay calm and collected, and improve your energy. And Brad really hit it on the head. I agree with him. I agree with him 100%. It's not always easy when you don't feel like getting out there. But if you use these tips to improve your motivation, you'll get out there and generally speaking, you'll be a better person. Okay, this next one might seem a little contradictory to the last one of making exercise a priority, but the next one is to be flexible. We've got to go easy on ourselves. Sometimes other things pop up that prevent us from doing what we want to do, or at least doing what we think we should do. And there was another study held in 2020 that shows that people with flexibility in doing their workouts, that flexibility actually boosts their chance of success, rather than those who were strictly rigid, who only had one chance to actually do their workout, go for their run. And the study looked at 2,500 employees of Google. And these 2,500 participants were randomly selected, and they were either put into groups where they could choose what time they wanted to go that seemed most manageable for their schedule, or they could opt in to go to the gym whenever they wanted to. Not really opt in, they were put in one of the two groups. Now the researchers hypothesized that those who had specific times to go to the gym would probably go more often because they knew that that was their time to go to the gym. They had no other time to go. They could only go at this particular time. But the opposite turned out to be true. So when the group that signed up for going to the gym at a particular time, when they missed their workout, they often didn't go at all. But the group that was able to go whenever they wanted, they had practice in missing workouts and then going at a different time than they originally planned. They were more likely to stick to their workout regimen than those study participants that were assigned a specific time. So in a nutshell, you have to make your running a priority, but you also have to be flexible. So prioritize flexibility in your running. So when you just can't find the motivation to get out there and go for your run, this is when having some peer support can help. Now, we've already talked about maybe going for a run with someone to keep you motivated, but obviously that's not always an option. This is when I would suggest leaning into your online community. We've got Strava, we've got YouTube with all these runners on here, Instagram. There is loads of places that you can go to get motivation and to be held accountable. Now, this is the main reason I do my weekly running and training vlog every Monday, because I want everyone to come in and tell me about their runs. Just by speaking about their runs and by getting encouragement, that helps us with motivation to move forward to the next run. Having a cheerleader or someone to just encourage you can really be a good motivator. So if you go for a run with someone, it's nice that you've kind of shared that same struggle together. But if you work out alone, reach out to your people online. Let them know what you did. Just kind of check in with them. And of course, that is my absolute favorite part of making my running and training videos, because I love hearing about other people's runs. I really enjoy hearing about their successes and, of course, the setbacks, mainly weather setbacks. I like hearing about people going out in obscenely cold weather because I don't get to experience those kind of setbacks. Okay, this next one I think is just a little contradictory, and I think it goes against what the title is actually saying about motivation and how to get motivation when you just don't feel like it. But the next one is to anticipate how your workout is going to make you feel. And this is huge. This is definitely one of my favorite ones. Doing a fast forward, understanding that even though you don't feel like it now, you are going to feel great after your run. I use this tip every single day. That first mile is, I don't want to say never, but hardly ever easy for me. But I know that if I just get through that mile, every mile thereafter is going to feel just a little bit easier. Guys, if you've been following me on Strava at all, oftentimes I'm feeling like a slug. I'm just dragging. And if I throw in just a couple of intervals, even if they're just 30-second pickups where my legs are turning over and I'm running a bit faster, that makes my entire run feel better. In fact, just that little bit of speed, even if I was feeling like a slug beforehand, I am feeling good the entire day. But I wouldn't be able to have that if I just gave up because I wasn't feeling like it. I anticipate how I'm going to feel after my workout, and then I get it done. And that's where discipline comes in. Motivation really has nothing to do with this. And I think that's the nugget. That's what I need you to take away. Who cares if you don't have motivation? It doesn't matter. You're going to do it anyway. You need the discipline. And if you have that discipline, I promise you it'll pay off and you'll be feeling good at the end. All right, my friends, thanks for staying all the way to the end of the video. And I want to know from you, if you stayed this long, I do want to know from you how you stay motivated. Are there days when you just don't feel like going out? And what do you do when you are confronted with those days? Do you do it anyway? Do you have like a little ritual that you go through to get you motivated to get out the door? Let me know in the comments. If you can't be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.